The sexual culture of ancient Hawaii was unlike anything found in the Western world. It was bold, fluid, and unrestricted by the rigid moral frameworks imposed by later colonizers. The Hawaiian Islands were home to a society that embraced sexuality as a natural, spiritual, and even sacred aspect of life. The modern world might view some of their practices as unconventional, but for the ancient Hawaiians, these customs were part of an intricate and harmonious way of living. A society without sexual taboos, unlike many cultures where sex was surrounded by secrecy, shame, or strict regulations, ancient Hawaiians had an open and accepting approach to sexuality. Premarital sex was common and encouraged. Young men and women were not expected to remain virgins until marriage, and it was normal for them to have multiple partners before settling down. This was not just tolerated, but celebrated as a way to explore desires, form connections, and even gain spiritual enlightenment. The lack of sexual taboos extended to married life as well. Many Hawaiian chiefs practiced polyamory, maintaining multiple sexual partners simultaneously. This was not considered infidelity, but rather an expression of their status and power. For the ruling elite, sex was often a means of political strategy, used to form alliances and strengthen bonds between different families. The role of aikana, homosexuality, and bisexuality in Hawaiian culture. One of the most surprising aspects of Hawaiian sexuality was the widespread acceptance of same-sex relationships. The term aikana referred to intimate male companionship, which was not only socially acceptable, but often encouraged. Hawaiian chiefs frequently had male lovers, in addition to their female partners, and these relationships were regarded as honorable. Aikana relationships were especially common among the warrior class. It was believed that close emotional and physical bonds between male warriors strengthened loyalty and unity. These relationships were not hidden or shamed, but were often celebrated in chants, songs, and oral histories. There is also evidence that women engaged in same-sex relationships, though historical records are less detailed on this aspect. Public displays of sexuality was not something that needed to be confined to the bedroom. Public expressions of desire were not uncommon in ancient Hawaii. Traditional hula, for example, was not just an art form, but also a deeply sensual and sometimes explicitly sexual performance. The movements of hula dances often mimicked acts of lovemaking, and these dances were performed during ceremonies, festivals, and even religious rituals. Certain religious ceremonies also included sexual rites, where individuals engaged in intercourse as a means of honoring the gods. Some Hawaiian deities were associated with sexual pleasure, fertility, and passion, and worship often involved acts of sensuality. In this way, sex was not just a personal experience, but a sacred and communal one. The influence of the kapu system, while sexuality in ancient Hawaii was generally free, there were still some regulations under the kapu system, a strict set of religious and social laws. The kapu dictated whom one could or could not have sexual relations with, particularly regarding social hierarchy and bloodlines. High-ranking individuals, especially the aliʻi chiefs, were expected to engage in relationships that preserved their noble bloodline. Incestuous relationships between high-ranking siblings were sometimes encouraged to keep the lineage pure. Despite the kapu restrictions, everyday Hawaiians were still granted considerable sexual freedom. They were not bound by the same constraints as the aliʻi, and relationships were often fluid, with partners changing over time. Sexual magic and fertility rituals. Hawaiians believed that sexual energy had the power to influence nature and human well-being. Certain fertility rituals involved sexual acts performed in sacred spaces to ensure good harvests, abundant fish supplies, and healthy offspring. Some priests and priestesses specialized in sexual magic, using their bodies to channel divine energies and bless couples who were struggling to conceive. Sexual energy was also believed to play a role in healing. Some traditional healers incorporated sensual touch and sexual stimulation as part of their healing practices. This was not seen as scandalous or inappropriate, but as a natural way to restore balance within the body and spirit. The arrival of Christian missionaries and the suppression of Hawaiian sexuality. The openness of Hawaiian sexuality drastically changed with the arrival of Christian missionaries in the early 19th century. The missionaries, shocked by the free and uninhibited sexual customs of the native people, sought to impose their own rigid moral codes. Premarital sex, polygamy, same-sex relationships, and public expressions of sensuality were condemned as sinful. The traditional hula was banned or heavily restricted due to its sensual nature, and the kapu system, which had already been dismantled in 1819, was further replaced by Western religious and legal systems. Under missionary influence, Hawaiians were forced to abandon many of their sexual traditions, adopting monogamous marriage as the only socially acceptable form of sexual expression. Those who continued to practice the old ways often faced punishment, ostracization, or conversion efforts. In just a few generations, much of the rich and diverse sexual culture of ancient Hawaii was lost or hidden. The legacy of ancient Hawaiian sexuality, despite the efforts to erase traditional Hawaiian sexuality, echoes of the past still remain. The revival of Hawaiian cultural identity in the 20th and 21st centuries has led to renewed interest in the sexual customs of ancient Hawaii. Scholars and cultural practitioners have worked to uncover and restore knowledge of pre-colonial Hawaiian attitudes toward love, relationships, and sexuality. Today, modern Hawaiians and visitors alike are beginning to appreciate the unique and liberated approach to sexuality that their ancestors once embraced. The concept of akoni has been reclaimed as a symbol of LGBTQ+ acceptance within Hawaiian culture, and traditional hula continues to be performed with its original sensual elements intact. While the conservative influence of Western morality still lingers, there is an increasing recognition that ancient Hawaiian sexuality was not something to be ashamed of, but rather something to be understood and honored as an essential part of the island's history. Conclusion: the sex lives of ancient Hawaiians were radically different from the prudish, shame-based attitudes introduced by later colonizers. Their culture was one of openness, exploration, and acceptance, where sexuality was intertwined with spirituality, social bonds, and even politics. From the celebrated agoni relationships to the ritualistic expressions of sensuality, the ancient Hawaiian approach to love and intimacy offers a fascinating glimpse into a world where desire was not just permitted, it was embraced as a vital force of life.